let's get into the coaches that we like. And Eric, I'll let you start with yours. We did compare notes before now, so we're not going to overlap with our presentation here. But let's start with your lead. There are other guys on your list, but who's kind of the first guy that you're turning to? If you had a list, who's the first guy you're calling?
Okay, so the first one on my list that my first call would go out to is Flynn Clayman. He's head coach at High Point. Pulled off that upset, an exciting win for them. But beyond just exciting how they got that win, it was Wisconsin, wasn't it?
Yes, it was Wisconsin. They nearly beat Arkansas in the second round.
Yeah, and he was preaching in the postgame a lot of the things that we've heard here and a lot of other mid-major programs, how hard it is to schedule. And so he gets it. He understands the plight of a mid-major program. He got his team to the NCAA tournament, won an NCAA tournament game. But beyond that, it goes deeper as to why I think he's my number one candidate. This is a guy who played at Colorado State. He also played at Troy for a year, but he coached at Southern Utah, and he was there for several years. That's where he met his wife. Incidentally, his wife is on the coaching staff at High Point as well, who also went to the NCAA tournament. So Wes Brooks could probably use her services on his coaching staff.
Would he be worried about getting replaced by her?
It's a 2-for-1. Now, she wasn't the head coach. She was
she's not the head
assistant.
coach? Oh, she's an assistant.
Yeah, she's an assistant. So Flynn Clayman and his wife met while at Southern Utah. Certainly, they understand the state. They understand the dynamics here.
He was even an interim coach at SCU for 3 games.
Yes, he was. And before he became the head coach, he's cheap. His salary is not really that high at High Point, so the Aggies could get him and not have to overspend that buyout money that they're getting from Cincinnati, so they could use more of that on roster building. So he is probably the coach of highest priority for me. I know South Florida is also interested in him because they just lost their coach to Providence. So he is in demand. There's probably going to be a bit of a bidding war to try to get him. But I like that he has the connections to the state of Utah. He's coached in the state. He would be familiar with Utah State and its fan base and its potential as it moves into the Pac-12.
Yeah, and I think that's something that is becoming more and more attractive in a coaching candidate. It became more and more attractive in an athletic director and president candidate for Utah. They've gone with, outside, outsiders, so to speak, with an AD, with coach, with all that. When it came to getting the last AD and the last president, they found people that had connections to Utah State. Now,
to the state of Utah.
Yeah, to the state of Utah. And I think now they didn't go out and find just somebody who only had a connection. Maybe they weren't as qualified. They went after somebody who was qualified and had the connection to the state of Utah.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be two Utah states, because Cam Walker didn't have a specific Utah State connection. It was mostly to the state of Utah. But they found someone who has some connections to this state, or at least to this area, because I think he was a southern Idaho native, but still, it's...
Spent time at Utah Valley.
It's the Mormon corridor.
Yeah.
It's in there.
Yep.
So he has that connection, but it was also qualified. If you just removed his Utah connections, there's some qualifications.
Right.
And so I like that with Clayman is that he has both of those. You're not just, this isn't Tim Miles where he has some connections, is he qualified? You're not just going after a guy for the ties, you're going after someone who's qualified, and it's a bonus that they have the connections. That's one reason why I actually really like Clayman as well, is that connection.
Yeah, we've had this discussion before with these different positions, the university president, the AD, and I think it follows with coaches as well. The highest priority is the best available candidate. I know there's a lot of folks here that are we need to find someone to bring them home, someone who understands the culture and they'll be here for a long time. And I get that. Believe me, I do, especially after what happened with the other university president and AD. But it shouldn't be mutually exclusive to the other. If you can find a great candidate who also has connections to the area, then you're really hitting a home run there.
Yeah.
Potential. And so that's what I really like about High Point's Flynn Clayman, that he's a great candidate. He plays really interesting. He coaches really interesting basketball, high possessions, high usage, lots of 3-point shots, high activity. So he's a successful coach. He won in the NCAA tournament. And by the way, he has connections to the state of Utah, which would help keep him here potentially for a little bit longer.
Yeah, they ranked third in the nation in points per game, 89.7 points per game. Now, some of that is they had the 23rd fastest paced offense. Their average possession was 15.9 seconds. They're leaving almost half the shot clock on there before they take a shot, but they were 62nd still in Ken Palm offensive efficiency, which for coming from a one-bid conference, if you can get into the top 60, almost 62nd, you can get up there. That's pretty impressive. With the level of talent that you're usually working with and with the level of opponent that you're usually playing, where you're not getting as much credit for putting 90 points on a team that ranks 242. Their defense was solid, 142nd, but this will be familiar to Aggie fans with this year's team. They ranked 8th in defensive turnover percentage. They turned opponents over all the dadgum time.
Yeah.
They also protected the ball, 4th in their own turnover percentage. 12.8% of the time, which is insane. Protecting the ball at an insane rate. Rebounded decently well. One thing that I pay attention to a lot when watching mid-majors against high majors is, can you rebound the ball against them?
Yeah.
Utah State got murdered on the boards by Arizona. When I was watching High Point against Wisconsin and Arkansas,
the size differential is the biggest gap.
There was a bit of a struggle, but I thought they were doing all right at times. Not fantastic, not dominating the boards, but doing all right. They had some players who go out there and get a board against these guys. And so those are the things that you want to see is, like, can a guy coach a team to have efficient offense, effective defense? Can they rebound well? Do they protect the ball? Do you have something about your defense that can make you elite? They get tons of steals. So that's something that makes me really like Flynn Clayman. He's been part of High Point's resurgence. They're on 3 straight years of 27-plus wins. He was an associate head coach for them in the 2 years under Alan Huss. Alan Huss leaves to, where did he go to? Creighton. He's now the head coach at Creighton. Mm-hmm. He left to become the head coach in waiting at Creighton, is now the head coach. But Clayman took the team to newer heights. I think High Point there, they win 27, 29, and then 31 this year. And they win an NCAA tournament game this year where they didn't win one last year when they went to the tournament. And they were the only mid-major double-digit seed, I think, VCU was an 11 seed. So they were the highest seed, highest number, lowest, however we're supposed to refer to that.
Right.
The lowest seed to win an NCAA tournament game as a 12 seed. So that was something that was really great for High Point. So there's a lot of reasons to really like that.
So who's your number one candidate?
So I like Todd Phillips for a number of reasons. I don't know if he'd be a home run hire, but there's a lot of things that I like him. I think him and Clayman, like, for very similar reasons. Success and Utah ties. Todd Phillips was a longtime Salt Lake Community College, won a JUCO national title, went to the JUCO tournament, their NCAA tournament equivalent at the JUCO ranks, went to that several times, was top 3 in their conference every single year, developing good players there. Then he moves to Utah Valley, was an assistant coach there under Mark Madsen as they kind of rebuilt the program after Mark Pope left. And then Mark Madsen left and Todd Phillips took over. There was another kind of rough year one as he went 16-16 in year one. But then even though after a 16-16 season, he lost like 3 of his top 4 guys, rebuilds, had the WAC player of the year. Like, he had 3 guys on his 2024-25 season that transferred to a power conference team. He had Carter Welling go to Clemson, the WAC player of the year, whose name I suddenly forget. It's in my notes somewhere. He went to Iowa State, and then he had Tanner Toolson. He transferred to TCU. So he had 3 guys leave his team that were power conference transfers. And he rebuilt after that and came back, went 25-9 again. Yeah. So he won a regular season title, lost 3 players that got poached away by power conference teams, rebuilt his program through the portal and through his own roster. Because actually his 2 best players this year were on his roster last year. So he hung on to a couple of guys, although they were like the 5th or 6th guys in the rotation. So he developed them, turned them into his better players. He did pick up a couple of Utah State transfers, but picked up transfers from elsewhere. Also picked up a JUCO guy, who helped him, who's a big 6'10" center, gave him some size inside, and then he wins the regular season title yet again. And there was a whole lot of distractions for his team they had to deal with, whether or not they were on TV, the WAC having it completely out for their program. And they still win the regular season. It's not as impressive this year with kind of the state the WAC was in, but still won the regular season. Dang near made the NCAA tournament. That's kind of the one thing that kind of goes against Todd Phillips is back-to-back regular season titles, but didn't win the conference tournament title. But I like the combination.
Isaac Davis lob play gone wrong is the only way that kept him out. Yeah,
basically. That would have sent it to overtime, so they still would have had to win in overtime. But yeah, they were that close. They were about 1 inch of Isaac Davis's standing reach closer to having a better chance of making the NCAA tournament. So the combination of success, because like Jared Calhoun, his whole thing was success at the Division II level, then doing some good things at Youngstown State, and now Todd Phillips at Slick, at UVU, the Utah ties, the ability to rebuild a roster after having it ravaged by the portal.
True.
In a couple of different ways, because in 2024-25, a lot of it was through the portal. He did have some guys that he developed because he's done both. He's developed guys on his roster, and he's also brought in guys through the portal. So he's done a mix of both. And so I think that makes it him, I think, an attractive coaching hire for the Aggies.
We got a lot more on our list to get through. You may have some that are on your mind as well. Love to get your thoughts on the ones we're presenting as some of our favorites. Maybe you've got some differing opinions. 435-339-0321 on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line. We do need to take a timeout, but we'll get to some of the other guys that we've been able to research and look at who may be possible candidates. This isn't because we've heard rumors that they're on the list or they've submitted their resumes. These are just guys that we've done the research on that we think would make sense or could make sense as the next head coach at Utah State.